A luxury hotel in Los Angeles. An elderly cleaning lady faces judgment and ridicule from the staff. Keanu Reeves arrives at the hotel. Your soul will freeze when you see his reaction. Friends, let us know in the comments under what conditions you watch this video. In the background, while working, or during lunch. Also, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow another emotional story will be waiting for you. The sun had barely risen over Los Angeles, but the lobby of the Belmont Grand Hotel was already alive. A river of high heels clicked along marble floors. Espresso machines hissed behind polished granite counters, and smartly dressed receptionists smiled with the artificial warmth only luxury hospitality could breed. The lobby smelled like citrus wood polish and fresh linens. It was perfection, the kind of perfection that never slept. And walking through it, like a soft shadow almost no one noticed, was Ivana Novak. Her shoes didn't click, they whispered, old, white-souled and sensible. Her uniform was always pressed, always pristine. Navy blue with gold trim, a name tag that had long since dulled with time. She was small, a bit hunched, and walked with a slowness that seemed out of place here, like a misplaced comma in a sentence that never stopped moving. Every morning at exactly 6 a.m., she clocked in without a word. She never made eye contact. Not because she was shy, but because she had long since learned that the world rarely wanted to meet her eyes. When you were nearing 80, and your job was scrubbing bathtubs and folding towels for people who would never remember your name, you learned to become invisible. The younger staff had a name for her. Slow-mo Granny. It started as a joke, then it stuck. I swear, she moves like the earth's crust, one bellhop snickered, tossing his keys into the air. I saw her wipe down one nightstand for like 5 minutes. She still uses a paper checklist, another added, laughing. Like, who even does that? Chloe, the assistant front office manager, didn't find it particularly funny. To her, Ivana was less of a person and more of an HR oversight. She's been here too long, Chloe said once, not bothering to lower her voice. We need people who can move, not take a stroll through the rooms. But Ivana never reacted. Never flinched. She just kept moving, slowly, like a glacier with a mop. She'd worked at the Belmont Grand for over 22 years, longer than Chloe had been out of high school. But in an industry that fed on youth, her loyalty earned her little more than eye rolls and whispered giggles. Ivana's room cart was the only one that never rattled. Everything inside was folded like origami. Soaps lined up like soldiers, towels rolled with geometric precision. She didn't use scented sprays. She believed clean had its own smell. No one asked about her past. No one knew she took the bus 2 hours from a quiet, rent-controlled apartment in East LA. No one knew she still mailed letters. No one knew she spoke 5 languages. No one cared. But one person noticed her. It happened on a Tuesday morning, just after sunrise. The sky outside the hotel glowed amber, still kissed by the last hints of dawn. Keanu Reeves, hoodie over his head, sunglasses on, rolled in through the side entrance. He didn't like being seen. Not here. Not yet. He was exhausted. A red-eye from New York, 3 days of press junkets, and now, finally, a sliver of quiet. He was checking in under a pseudonym, just as he always did. No entourage, no press. As he waited for the elevator, sipping from a small paper coffee cup, something caught his eye. A woman, frail, slow-moving, was replacing flowers in the lobby corner near the lounge. Her hands moved with a kind of reverence, as though each petal had a name. She adjusted the stems with care, wiped the vase base with a cloth from her pocket, then slowly, almost ceremoniously, stepped back and nodded to herself. She didn't see him watching, but Keanu watched her. and something about the way she stood, silent, invisible, felt painfully familiar. The elevator dinged. He didn't move. He just stood there, coffee cooling in his hand, watching this woman who no one else seemed to see. And in his chest, something shifted. Not loudly. Just a small pull. A question without words. Who is she? The linen closet on the 12th floor was tucked into a narrow corridor, behind a door that moaned every time it opened. Ivana Novak stood inside, double-checking her checklist with a pencil worn down to the nub. Her fingers moved slowly, deliberately, each item marked with the same steady pressure. Room 1203, VIP suite. She took a deep breath and gently placed an extra sheet. Just in case, she thought. Some guests spilled things. Others asked for more. Better to be prepared. But that one sheet would be too much. At 9:17 a.m., Chloe walked into room 1203 with a clipboard in hand and a sour expression glued to her lips. She was leading 2 assistant managers on a surprise quality inspection, the kind she used to assert authority. "This is the Belmont Grand," she said as she opened the closet. "Perfection isn't optional." She froze. 1 extra sheet. "What the hell is this?" she hissed, pulling the sheet out like it was radioactive. "Who stocked this?" The younger manager hesitated. I think this is Ivana's floor." "Of course it is." Within minutes, Chloe was back downstairs. The hallway outside the service area echoed as she stormed through it. She spotted Ivana at her cart, gently wiping down a canister of disinfectant. "Ivana?" The shout cracked through the hallway like a whip. Ivana turned slowly, her hands still on the cloth. Chloe held up the sheet like evidence in a courtroom. "Are you trying to sabotage us? Do you even read the SOPs anymore?" "1 sheet. 1. Not 2. This is a VIP suite, not your laundry room." Ivana blinked. I thought the guest..." "Don't think. You're not paid to think." A bellhop walking by slowed down. A couple nearby waiting for the elevator looked over. Chloe's voice got louder. 22 years and you still can't follow basic procedure? Maybe it's time we brought in someone who can actually keep up." "You're a liability, Ivana. Do you understand that?" "A slow, outdated liability." A soft laughter rippled from the guests. The bellhop looked away. No one said a word. Ivana lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry, it won't happen again." "You're right," Chloe snapped. "It won't. Because if I see one more mistake, you won't be here to make another. Now get out of my sight. Go. Clean something. Quietly." Ivana turned her cart and rolled it down the hallway. Chloe tossed the extra sheet on top of the cart as if it were trash. From the far end of the hallway, next to a vending alcove, Keanu Reeves stood half-shadowed behind a corner. He had just stepped out to grab a soda, hoodie up, unnoticed. But now, he stood frozen. He hadn't heard the full exchange, but he'd seen the posture, the look on Ivana's face, the venom in Chloe's tone, and the way no one stepped in. His fingers curled slightly around the soda can. Later that afternoon, he waited until the hall was quiet. Then he found her by the supply closet, restocking. "Excuse me," he said softly. Ivana turned, startled. She didn't recognize him at first. Just another guest. "Yes, sir." "I saw what happened earlier," Keanu said. "Are you okay?" Ivana paused. Then she gave him the smallest smile, the kind people give to keep the world from asking more questions. "I'm fine," she said. "Thank you." Her hands never stopped moving, never stopped folding. But Keanu didn't believe her, not for a second. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Keanu stepped inside first, holding it for Ivana, who pushed her cart gently into the corner and pressed the button for the 9th floor. He didn't say anything. Neither did she. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was heavy, like wet wool. As the elevator began its slow ascent, Keanu leaned slightly against the wall, arms folded, watching the numbers blink above the door. Ivana stood beside her cart, adjusting the cleaning cloths, eyes lowered. Her fingers trembled ever so slightly, betraying what her voice would never confess. Then it happened. A soft flutter, like the wing of a bird. Something slipped from the side pocket of Ivana's canvas bag, hit the floor gently, and landed between them. Keanu looked down. It was a photograph. A small, yellowed piece of paper, its edges frayed with age. He reached down and picked it up carefully, respectfully, as though afraid it might crumble in his hands. He turned it over. The image was black and white, grainy, faded, but the figures were clear. A line of children stood behind a barbed wire fence. One little girl, no older than 6 or 7, stood at the front, her eyes locked on the camera, her expression haunting. Behind the children, a wooden sign, barely legible, read, Terezin, 1944. Keanu's breath caught in his throat. He looked at Ivana. Her eyes were still down, but her hand had frozen mid-motion. She knew what he held. Gently, he extended the photo toward her. You dropped this. She didn't take it right away. Instead, she looked at him for the first time, really looked. Her eyes, pale blue and dimmed by time, locked with his. And in that moment, something passed between them. Something wordless and heavy and human. That was my first home, she said quietly. Keanu didn't speak. He just held the photo a little tighter, then carefully placed it on her cart. My parents didn't make it out, Ivana continued, her voice steady but hollow. They told me we were going to a place with warm beds and school. We arrived in winter. I never saw them again. Keanu said nothing. He just stood there, heart hammering. Ivana glanced at the elevator buttons. I came to the United States in 1952, sponsored by a church group. I was 14. I didn't speak a word of English, but I cleaned floors. I washed dishes. I did whatever they let me. The elevator stopped at the 7th floor. No one got on. The doors closed again. She continued. I married a machinist. We had one son. He died in '99. Cancer. I raised my grandson since then. He's in college now. Computer science. Brilliant boy. She allowed herself a small, proud smile. Then her gaze fell back to her cleaning supplies. I scrub floors today, so my grandson can build software tomorrow. Keanu felt his throat tighten. He looked at her again. Not at the uniform, not at the stoop in her shoulders, not at the slowness in her gait, but at the woman, at her strength, at the war she had fought just to exist. The elevator chimed. Ivana stepped out first, her cart squeaking softly behind her. Keanu stayed inside, watching her go. He didn't know her full story, but now he knew enough to understand that everything he thought he knew about quiet people was wrong. 3 days later, the lobby of the Belmont Grand looked different. Not in its decor. The marble still gleamed, the chandeliers still sparkled, but in the way people stood. How they whispered, how they watched the large flat screen mounted near the concierge desk, where soft classical music now played beneath a slowly fading slideshow. Keanu Reeves stood off to the side, dressed in black, arms crossed. A title card appeared. Meet the people who built this place. A pause. Then the screen shifted. A black and white photograph, grainy, framed by barbed wire. Children behind a fence. A girl in front, eyes full of silence and too much knowing. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Hotel staff gathered near the reception. Guests stopped mid-check-in. Even Chloe was there, standing rigid, arms crossed, confusion curdling in her brow. Then Keanu's voice filled the lobby. Calm. Low. Director. Behind every clean room is a story we never asked to hear. The image shifted again. This time, Ivana Novak's name appeared. Then a split screen. Young Ivana in the camp, and Ivana now in her uniform, pushing a cart down the 9th floor hallway. The lobby fell utterly silent. She's been here longer than most of us have had careers, Keanu's voice continued. She's survived more than any of us can imagine, and she still shows up. Every morning. For others. People began to turn toward the service door, where Ivana stood, dressed in her pressed uniform, unsure if she was supposed to walk in. Keanu stepped forward and gestured gently. She entered the room slowly. Guests moved aside. Staff straightened. A few even clapped, unsure of what else to do. But when Ivana stood near the center of the room, facing the screen that now held her childhood photo, the clapping grew louder. It wasn't polite. It was real. A standing ovation. From celebrities in town for film shoots. From newlyweds who had spent thousands on their honeymoon suite. From baristas and valets and housekeeping staff. Ivana blinked slowly. Her hands trembled. Chloe, still frozen by the front desk, looked pale. She didn't say a word. The general manager stepped forward and took the mic. Miss Novak, on behalf of the entire Belmont Grand family, I offer a public apology for not seeing you, for forgetting what matters. He turned to the crowd. From this day forward, we will honor those whose quiet work makes everything else possible. Keanu stepped forward again, holding a slim white envelope. And one more thing, he said, smiling gently. You once told me you've never been back. He extended the envelope to her. Inside are tickets to Prague, first class, 5 nights, a hotel suite, and a visit to a memorial not far from where that photo was taken. Ivana stared at it, then at him. Then, finally, she took the envelope in both hands, like it might vanish if she moved too fast. The applause surged again, but Ivana only nodded, her voice barely audible. Thank you for noticing. And beside her, Keanu whispered, thank you for surviving. The crowd didn't stop clapping for a long, long time. The sun was still rising over Los Angeles when Ivana Novak returned to the 9th floor corridor one last time. This time, the silence wasn't heavy. It was warm. Where once she moved like a ghost, now her presence seemed to pull gravity. People looked up when she walked by. They smiled. They nodded. Some even stopped what they were doing. Ms. Novak, one young housekeeper called, hurrying over. I tried the towel fold you mentioned yesterday. It really does hold better. Ivana gave a soft chuckle, showing her how to tuck the corner. Another staffer asked about her special lavender rinse. Someone else asked if she had time to review their cleaning checklist. The nickname Slow-Mo Granny was gone. Buried. Forgotten. In its place, respect. She still moved slowly, but now no one dared call it sluggish. They called it deliberate, precise, masterful. Her cart was no longer a symbol of invisibility. It was a monument to decades of quiet service. And now, finally, everyone saw it for what it truly was. At the elevator, Keanu stood waiting. Dressed casually, travel bag slung over his shoulder, cap low on his forehead. Ivana approached with a single suitcase. It wasn't large. She had packed only what she needed. He reached for the handle. She let him take it. They stepped into the elevator together. Neither said a word as the doors closed. Downstairs, the lobby buzzed gently with the sounds of morning checkouts and incoming guests. But the energy was different. Softer. Warmer. As the two walked toward the main doors, staff paused to wave. Guests turned to glance. Keanu stepped outside with her into the morning sun. A black car waited at the curb. He handed the driver her suitcase, then turned to Ivana. She looked up at him. those same tired but unbreakable eyes meeting his. He reached out and took her hand gently. "Thank you for surviving." Ivana squeezed his fingers. "Thank you for noticing." Then she climbed into the car, and with a gentle push of the door, it was done. The vehicle pulled away, turning onto the boulevard and disappearing into the golden haze of morning light. Keanu stood for a moment, watching it go. Then he turned and stepped back inside. At the far end of the lobby, where guests often passed without a second glance, a new frame had been mounted to the wall. It held the photograph of the little girl behind the barbed wire. Beneath it, a brass plaque gleamed. "In honor of those who built more than walls. They built the future." And just below it, Ivana Novak, 1944. Still standing. Some stories change you. This one should. We walk past people every day, housekeepers, janitors, bus drivers, clerks, without a second thought. But behind every uniform, there may be a lifetime of sacrifice, of survival, of quiet heroism the world never stopped to see. Ivana Novak was one of those people. And there are thousands more, just like her. Let this story be a reminder. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never mock someone just because they move slower. Never assume you know a person's worth by the name tag on their chest. We all have the power to notice, to see, to act, like Keanu did. So if you see someone struggling today, an elderly worker, a tired parent, a lonely neighbor, pause, listen, thank them, and if you can, help. Because behind every clean room, every swept floor, every bag of groceries packed at midnight, there may be a story worth hearing and someone worth honoring. Be that person who notices. The world needs more of them. Be sure to share your impressions of the story in the comments and write what conclusions you have drawn after listening to it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I wish you all a good mood and see you in the new video tomorrow.